All right, good morning, macro students. This is Mr. Clark with a quick video to talk you through topic 5.3, which deals with money growth and the role money plays in determining inflation. Before I do that, though, make sure you take the 5.1.5.2 quiz on AP Classroom. That's 11 multiple choice questions in AP Classroom that deals with 5.1, which is combination of monetary and fiscal policy, and 5.2, which is the Phillips curve. And I did want to go over just one question to make sure there's no confusion. Question like this is question 5 from the quiz. It says if there's a contractionary fiscal policy and an expansionary monetary policy. So you got two things at work here. And your organizer, if you filled it out correctly, would really help answering a question like this. So a contractionary fiscal policy, you got to look at two things here. The question's asking, all right, what's the effect of this on interest rates and on employment? And then what's the impact of this expansionary monetary policy on interest rates and employment? So when you think of a contractionary fiscal policy, you should think of the government spending less money and therefore borrowing less money and raising taxes. So because of that, the demand for loanable funds is going to shift left. The government doesn't need as many loans. So that's going to result in a decrease in interest rates. With an expansionary monetary policy, think of the Fed buying bonds, pumping money into the economy, lowering the discount rate. So the money supply curve would shift right and lower interest rates. So right off the bat, if interest rates are falling when there's contractionary fiscal policy, and they're also falling when there's expansionary monetary policy, you know that the correct option is going to be C or D. And I'll just leave it at that. I will say, if you notice option E here says indeterminate. And you might be wondering, all right, well, how do I know when interest rates either go up or down or are indeterminate? Here's how. If one policy results in higher interest rates and the other policy, meaning monetary or fiscal, results in lower interest rates, the answer is going to be indeterminate. So to be a little more specific, if the U.S. government cut taxes and spent a lot more money, that means they need to borrow more. The demand for loanable funds is going to increase. So interest rates go up. But at the same time, let's say the Fed wants to sell bonds and, let's say the Fed wants to buy bonds and lower interest rates. So when the Fed is pursuing expansionary monetary policy and the U.S. government is pursuing expansionary fiscal policy, the effect on the interest rate is going to be indeterminate because one is driving up the interest rate, the expansionary fiscal policy, and the other expansionary monetary policy is driving down the interest rate. Okay? So you got to know how to be able to read that organizer and think through some of these types of policies that are at play here. All right, so I'll leave it at that. All right, so notes for 5.3. 5.3 deals with the impact the money supply has on inflation. If you're looking for ways of measuring how much money is in an economy, for some reason I put this twice, but the St. Louis Fed keeps an accurate measurement of how much money is in the economy. And by tracking that and tracking how many times money changes hands, they can use it to predict nominal GDP. So remember, nominal means what? Nominal means current prices. Current prices. So when we're talking about nominal GDP, we're looking at how much people are producing now in present day prices. If we're talking about real GDP, we're looking at GDP in a given time period using a base year, taking out inflation. Remember, real takes out inflation. So today we're going to be looking more from the nominal perspective. And what economists use to determine nominal GDP, they use something called the quantity theory of money. So the quantity theory of money is this. M stands for the amount of money that's in the economy. So you could find that out by using the M1 measurement, thanks to the St. Louis Fed. If you took how much money is in the economy and then multiplied it by how many times money changes hands. Anytime you see velocity of money, that means you take a dollar bill and you go and you buy a large Coke with it at McDonald's. So that dollar bill has changed hands once. So the velocity of that dollar bill is 1. Now somebody at McDonald's takes that dollar bill, an employee, they get paid with it, they go out and use it to buy something else. So now the velocity of 2. So the point I'm trying to make here is the more times money changes hands, the higher the velocity. So quick current event application, think about the velocity of money right now and compare it to the velocity of money 3 months ago before COVID-19. So the velocity of money, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm pretty sure the velocity of money has decreased significantly since COVID-19 hit. People are staying inside their homes. They're not spending money nearly as much. They're not going out to restaurants and bars and on vacations. So because of that, the velocity of money is lower. All right, back to the equation. If you took the money supply times the amount of times it changes hands, M times V, you should be able to get nominal GDP. Over here, if you took prices for goods and services, current prices, and multiplied them times what people are making and selling, goods and services, you should get nominal GDP over here. So these are both measures of nominal GDP. You can measure nominal GDP by taking current prices times what you're producing, or how much money is in the economy by how many times it changes hands. So knowing that, think about it. We just talked COVID-19. People aren't spending as much money. Even though there's more money in the economy because of the Fed, chances are nominal GDP is decreasing. And that's true. If you went out and looked at nominal GDP figures right now and compared them to January, they are way down. You could use P times Q because people are producing less, or you could use M times V. People are spending less. All right, so I hope that illustrates kind of the usefulness of this equation. Here's how it could also be applied too. If you look at the second bullet point there in italics, if V in that equation doesn't change, if people are still spending money in the same amount, and people are still producing the same amount, Q, but all of a sudden the Fed comes in and pumps more money into the economy, prices should go up based on this theory. Because now, when M increases, now you have more money around, and so nominal GDP is going to increase. And you might be thinking, all right, well, wouldn't that be the case now since the Fed is pumping a whole bunch of money in the economy? Yeah, it depends on the strength of the policy. So in this case, like in our real life application here, even though the Fed's pumping a bunch of money into the economy, if people aren't spending it, if the velocity of money is significantly decreasing, that's going to have a bigger drag on GDP and a bigger impact on GDP than the amount of money being pumped into the economy. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. Again, a couple takeaways. Make sure you know what these stand for. Make sure you know what the M stands for and the V stands for and what they equal. M times V equals nominal GDP over here. P times Q equals nominal GDP over here. It's just another way of figuring out nominal GDP. I'm going to link this video. It's 5 minutes long. It's pretty useful. It just reviews what I just talked about. And there's 5 questions at the end you're welcome to try out. And that is all I have for today. You're also welcome to check out this video on AC/DC Econ from Quantity Theory of Money as well. So if you have questions, jump into the Google Meet on Friday, and have a good rest of the day and rest of the weekend.